I've never had as many miles a week as I've had this year. And finally, I'm able to make this review on the shoes that I've been running in. After Boston Marathon this year, I decided that I wanted to get more serious about my running, more serious about my training, and part of that was figuring out what kind of shoe rotation was the best for me. Because I've experienced that some shoes are good for me, some shoes are not. And in this review, we're gonna talk about what shoes I'm getting rid of, what shoes I'm keeping, and what shoes have helped me to get up to the mileage that I've had this spring. Because I've never had as many miles on my feet every week as I've had this spring and summer. And I'm 100% sure that that has something to do with the shoes that I've been running in. Before I start this review, I just want to emphasize that these are my opinions. It's not like I can tell you that these shoes are good or these shoes are bad. For instance, On for me doesn't really work, but I know that it works great for a lot of other runners. So just because I'm saying that I'm getting rid of a pair of shoes doesn't necessarily mean that that's the same for you. But these are my experiences and I'm gonna share how I feel running on them and what the differences are. And before we start, I just wanna talk quickly about the differences in shoes, because today I'm gonna talk about the shoes that I'm using for my easy runs, my recovery runs. I also wanna talk about the ones that I'm using for my workouts, and I wanna talk about the ones that I'm just wearing when I want to build capacity or build my strength as a runner, but not necessarily use it for a recovery run. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it will make sense when we get further into the video. So first of all, when it comes to easy runs, I really like having shoes that do not have carbon plates in them. Carbon plates become super popular, super shoes are popular, and a lot of runners are using them for their easy runs. And I think that's partly because they see ads for them and think that those are great, and then they buy themselves one pair of shoes, and then you end up with carbon plated shoes. The risky part of running with carbon plated shoes all the time is that you might not build up that strength in your legs, and it will make you more vulnerable when it comes to injuries. I know that this is a controversial topic in the first place. A lot of people will say that that's not the case, but that is definitely my experience. So I'm just gonna go through these shoes now, first with the easy run shoes / recovery shoes, and then I'm gonna move on to the higher pace shoes that I'm wearing. Some of them for my workouts, some of them for the even faster workouts, and some of them for my racing. So the first shoe that I got this spring, that was actually before Boston, was the Nike Vomero 18. This is not the Plus or Premium, but this is a great shoe that I kind of fell in love with from the very first second. The only thing that I would say about it was that wasn't the best, was that I started feeling something in my knees and I was like, oh, that might not be the best. I'm putting all the specs up here. But because it has more of a drop, it kind of makes it a shoe that could kind of affect your knees if you are that kind of runner. If you feel something in your knees, maybe the Nike Vomero is not the shoe to go for. Anyways, a lot of cushioning. It's a great shoe in terms of going easy. I use them for a lot of my recovery runs, but I also feel like I can get quite a lot of speed in them. So when I was in Iceland this summer, I wore these for an on-off kind of 1K on, 1K off kind of workout. And they were great also when trying to push a little harder. So these shoes are very different than, say, the Nike Invincible that I was using for a long time. I felt like they were much more stiff, didn't have as much cushioning, and I guess that is why people love the Vomero. A lot of cushioning, but doesn't feel like it's too heavy. So a really good shoe, one of the shoes that I use the most these days. Another shoe that I'm using a lot and that I've been running mostly with this summer is the Asics Super Blast 2. A great shoe in terms of protecting your feet. I've always been a big fan of Asics. I feel like they're really taking care of their customers in terms of making shoes that will help you stay healthy, like free of injuries, but also kind of build that capacity. So what I love about these is that they feel light. It feels like it's, I don't know, they kind of help me to run better technically. I don't know if that's just me, but it feels like I'm landing in the right way, fits my technique very well. And other than that, quite a lot of cushioning. Does not feel like the Vomero, which is even more cushiony, but I also do not want that for those runs where I'm building capacity. And what I mean by that is that I feel like when I'm out running, I obviously want to build the capacity, like my lung capacity. I want to get better, a better endurance athlete, but I also want to have kind of a strength training kind of shoe where it's like when I'm running, I'm building the strength in my calves, my legs, everywhere. And I feel like these shoes are helping me in that regard. They're pretty stiff. I guess I would say that there's somewhere between the Vomero and the Nike Invincible that I mentioned before, but still, they feel much more, I don't know, comfortable on my feet. It feels like they're, like I said, kind of taking care of me. And in addition to that, I'm also using the Adidas Evo SL, which a lot of people say that, like, at least I've heard that some people are saying that that is the brother of the Superblast 2, just in the shape of an Adidas shoe. I feel like these are a little harder on my legs. So like if I feel something, some niggle here or there, I will not use these because I just feel like they're not protecting me as much. It could be that that is random, but that has been my feeling. But if I don't feel niggle, these are probably one of my favorite shoes. I love running in them. I wore them in Manchester this summer and I completely fell in love with them. I was wearing them for a track session. Felt really good. I was running like 3 flat pace per kilometer on my 400s with them. Speed came easy. It was just like, yeah, a great shoe. And again, like I said about the Asics and the technique, I feel like they really emphasize the good things about my technique, and it makes it very easy to run technically well, which I really appreciate. As you wear them for a while, they get more, like, less stiff, which I have appreciated, because in the beginning I felt like they were really, really good, really nice, but I was worried that they were a bit too hard on my body. After running with them for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and rotating with all of them, so I don't know how many kilometers I had on them before I felt like they were the perfect shoe for me, but eventually they felt really good, so now they're definitely one of my favorite pairs. So I'm rotating between these 3 shoes for all of my easier runs. I tend to choose these ones if I want to go just a little bit faster on my easier runs. If I have less mileage one week and I just want to have more closer to zone 2 work than zone 1, then I will pick these ones. So obviously if you're watching this video and you're into running shoes, you probably heard a lot about these shoes, and I would totally recommend them. They're a favorite, and I think they're like the winner of a lot of tests this year. And yeah, just really, really good shoes. So obviously I'm keeping all these 3 shoes. I'm using them for different reasons. A lot of people will say that it's really good to have a shoe rotation just because it will take care of your feet. And I believe so too. I like that I'm able to switch between them depending on what kind of run I want. And also a friend of mine told me this spring that he actually used the switching of shoes between sessions. Like if he started feeling a niggle, he would put on a different pair of shoes just to get some different stimulation. Sorry, with that kind of stay injury free. So that's kind of my way around this. And then there is another pair of shoes that I've been wearing this spring, and that is the Nova Blast 5. I was wearing these before I got the Super Blast 2, and I did like them a lot. It's a cheaper version than the Super Blast 2, but I guess I realized eventually as I fell more and more in love with the Vomero 18 that they felt like almost the same shoe. I don't think these have as much of a drop. Correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't feel like they have. So when you see the specs here, you'll see if I'm right or wrong. But the point is not even what it is. It's more like what it feels like. It feels like they're much more flat. They take care of my feet better. So I'm not sure if I'm keeping these or not. It's hard for me to kind of decide on this yet. But these are the shoes that I'm the one of the pairs that I'm barely using anymore. But there is one pair that I'm definitely getting rid of, and I've just been waiting for this review to happen for me to kind of sell them or give them away. I'm definitely selling them because they're brand new. And that is the Adizero Boston 13. Really nice and good shoes. I think that like when I first got them, I was really, really happy, really excited to get these. But as I was wearing them, I felt like they were not really protecting my legs. They are carbon plated. And I was like, well, where am I supposed to use these? Like, I have the Evo SL, I have the Super Blast 2, and I was like, these don't really, they don't do anything for me. And so, yes, I use them for some long runs with some more tempo, but having so many of those like racing shoes, I ended up using those for those sessions, and for my easier long runs, I would use non-carbon plated shoes. So it was really hard to figure out where or when I was supposed to use them. I also don't love the feeling with them. There's something about them that just didn't really fly. And yeah, I am selling them. They're, yeah, not much to say. Didn't really feel great on my feet. Didn't feel like it was protecting my feet. And although I might have gotten some easier speed, like getting to the faster pace without as much effort as with some of the other ones, I didn't feel like it was enough for me to keep them. So Adizero 13 sold, or I'm selling them. So out of the Vomero 18, the Super Blast 2, the Evo SL, and the Nova Blast 5, I guess if I was to say, if I had to keep one pair of shoes, I think I would go with the Super Blast 2, just because I feel like they have some of the qualities that the Vomero has and some of the qualities that the Evo SL has. So it's really hard to differentiate them. I mean, there are different brands, and I feel like they might be made for the same things from the brands. Just as with cars, a lot of the shoe brands, they have the same models, but different design. But I still feel like they're in the same category, and that you have to just try them out. But for me, it would be the Super Blast 2. There's something about ASICs that I just trust them more. I don't know why that is, but those are the ones that I would keep for my easy and longer, easier runs. Let's talk about the super shoes. So when it comes to super shoes, I started out using the Vaporfly years ago, and I really like them. I ran my first marathon in the Vaporfly 3, and they felt really good. I did kind of learn the hard way after the marathon that maybe they were not the best ones for me for the marathon, that it didn't really protect my knees and my legs as much as I hoped and that I wanted it to, but still a really good shoe. I've been using these for some of my 10 by K workouts when I'm just not doing those long steady runs, but just still having some repeats. I also feel like they would be a great 10K shoe still, and I might have gone with these for, say, a 10K race. I did try the Vaporfly for this spring just on a treadmill because I was thinking that I would get them. There were a couple of things that I didn't like as much with them. It felt like they were much more stiff, much harder, almost as if I was just on the treadmill there for just a few minutes, and I felt like this is an injury sneaking up on me just by running in them. That could have been just my feeling, and especially since I was trying out a different pair of shoes on that treadmill the same day, coming back to those, that made me kind of go with the other ones instead of the Vaporfly 4. And also it felt really weird back here in the heel, and I've heard other people saying the same thing. I felt like the same size that I'm using in these or in other Nike shoes didn't really fit, and it just, yeah, there was something about the fit there that didn't feel great. So the Vaporfly 3 for me, that's the one I would go for if I was to use the Nike Vaporflies. That being said, there is another shoe that I feel like is definitely competing with these, and that you can maybe use for also the longer distances, and they've definitely been competing with the Nike Vaporfly this year, and those have kind of become my go-to for those kind of shorter repeat sessions. I'm obviously talking about the Adidas Pro 4. I did not think that I would be an Adidas runner. I thought that those shoes were for other runners, not for me. I've been pretty loyal to Nike for a very long time, but these surprised me, and I ended up leaving that store when I was trying out these and the Vaporfly 4 with these. And I love them. They felt much faster, made me feel, again, there's something about Adidas that actually makes me feel like I'm running better. I don't know if it is, like I said before, fits my technique better, but something about them that I really, really like, really enjoy. The only thing that I would say, like, first of all, they make me feel more aggressive. So there's something about them where I feel like I'm more aggressive when I'm running. They are, again, just like with the Evo SL, I don't feel like it's as much cushioning. I don't feel like they're protecting my legs as much as maybe some of the other models. So that's something to take into consideration. If you really want to have a pair of shoes that will protect you more, we're gonna talk more about a model just after this one, a shoe that I've been wearing quite a lot. But other than that, I think that they made a very good solid shoe here. Obviously carbon plated again, just like with Vaporfly. All these super shoes that I'm now talking about, they're carbon plated. And yeah, no, a really good shoe. But like I said, it doesn't feel like it. I don't know if I would run a marathon in them. I know that I could, but I'm not sure if I would want to do that because of my legs and taking care of them. The only thing that I reacted to pretty early on was that it feels like the shoelaces and like the way you're tying them, that it feels a bit too far down on my foot. It could be that is just Adidas models being more like that, but compared to say the Nike, that was a bit of an adjustment and something to get used to. But it's like as soon as you get used to it, you get used to it, so it's fine. But that was definitely a change that I noticed. Okay, so this is the shoe that I ran Boston in, Nike Alphafly 3. Honestly, an amazing shoe. I love this shoe. It's so good for all of my harder workouts. It doesn't feel like I am honestly using my legs even. I feel like they're protecting my legs a lot. I feel like they're fast. And it's hard for me to say that I'm not running my marathon in 3 weeks with these, because I feel like they're my go-to. Definitely my go-to for a lot of my runs. My long run last week or 2 weeks ago was also in the Alphafly 3. And there's something about them that is just, you know, a marathon all of a sudden doesn't seem like that big of a load. But yeah, fast shoes, good shoes. The only thing that I would comment on that I don't like is obviously the quality, because these have been worn for, I don't know, one session, one workout and a marathon, and it looks like they've been worn for much longer than that. So that's kind of the thing about the super shoes. They're good and they're fast, but maybe not as built as sustainable. I don't know if they could have built it more sustainable, or if it's just yeah, I don't know what's up with that, but really like that. Compared to the Adidas shoes, and I know that Adidas has been criticized for this, it's like the shoelaces are much better with these. With the Adidas ones, it feels like the quality of the laces is just different. I really like that you have these kind of laces, like compared to these ones. Just when, especially for a marathon, when you don't want to stop and have to tie your shoelaces again. But there is one shoe that has been more popular than any shoe this spring and summer, and that is the Puma Fast-R 3. Amazing shoe. Obviously, you've seen the results. You've seen the Fast-R 3 project. I have had so many people raving about these shoes. I've had people on the podcast who's done incredibly well with these shoes, and I was curious about what the hype was all about, and so I got them, and I've been wearing them for a few workouts now, and I do understand what they're talking about. They're super fast. They're very comfortable at that higher pace. I would say that they're not like nothing else that I've ever tried. And for me, it's kind of like a no-brainer. I'm wearing these for my marathon in 3 weeks. But there is like, although they're super good, super fast, and I feel like I'm faster wearing them, I keep coming back to this about feeling like they're good for my legs or not. And that's the thing with the Alphafly, was that I just really, really enjoy the fact that if I have a niggle, I can put them on, go for a long run, and I don't feel anything. With these, I don't know if it's because it makes me faster, so my body is not used to that mechanical load, and especially when I'm like doing my cool down, if I do a repeat session or a workout, and then I'm like 5K away from home, and then I'm running back just easy, then these do not feel very comfortable. I do not love them for that. So that's a difference. And obviously these are made for the faster pace. It doesn't really matter what they feel like when you're jogging. So I'm curious about using them for the marathon. I hope that it will be a fast shoe, that it will be a shoe that will take care of my legs throughout the marathon. But that's the only kind of, I don't know, only doubt that I have about these is that they might be a bit too hard on my legs. But who knows? I will be able to say more about that after my marathon. So these are just my reflections on these shoes. I'm trying to kind of just explain what I feel when wearing them. When it comes to the Vaporfly, for instance, Vaporfly 3 that I have here, I might try to sell those. I have 2 pairs of them, so I might sell one of them just because I've seen them, realized that I don't really use them much anymore. The Adidas or Adizero Boston 13 will definitely be gone after this review. I do not hate them as in like you should never wear them, but I just don't see where they fit in my shoe rotation. If you're watching this and you feel like there are some shoes that are missing, shoes that I should definitely try, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. I hope that this review kind of helped you, not necessarily in being like, oh, these are the shoes I'm going for, but more like understanding more of the differences between them, and depending on what is important to you, maybe this helped you a little bit. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the Marathon Podcast on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Talk to you in the next one.